Shalom, welcome to the Jewish Task Force, J.T.F. I'm Chaim Ben Pesach, and we have another program with the great David Ben Moshe. This week, we're going to prove to you that what you see in the news media and what you see online and what people say is not only not necessarily so, but is usually not true at all. And we're going to discuss Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. We're going to discuss how it involves Donald Trump and the late Joe Biden and all these other leaders, and to prove to you that what do you see in the media about Netanyahu? Oh, he's very stubborn. He's really a hardliner. He's right wing. Yeah. You're going to see what an unbelievable wimp he is, and how when we tell you he's a wimp, that he's a terrible self-hating leader, a traitor, and a wimp, you're going to see how true that is on this program. And we're going to tie it in with how it affects American politics and the situation in the United States, and how people should not trust what the media says and the perceived views, because they're usually completely false. But before we get to that, this program is dedicated to Refuah Shlema, complete recovery for Sharon Mitman, Shlomo Ben Sarah, Dorit Bat Sarah, Ruven Ben Shoshana, and Ruth Bat Sarah. And to Ilui Neshamot, elevating of the souls for Malka Bat Meir, Allegra Bat Shlomo, Daniel Nankin, Victor Chazdai, Pesach Zeb Ben Dov, Lunita Adler, Shifra Hoffman, Ruven Hoffman, Barry Hoffman, Arab Mir Kahana, Arab Binyamin Kahana, Tzipora Fegi Bat Liba, Yosef Ben Meir, Robert Mittman, Dennis Shore, Helen Friedman, Charles Zolat, and Yair Levine. For 30 years, we've been saying that Israel should destroy Iran's nuclear bomb-making program. The Iranians are so close to developing nuclear bombs, which endanger Israel, the United States, and the world with the prospect of nuclear holocaust. This insane terrorist regime in Iran, giving them nuclear weapons, is beyond insanity. Beyond insanity. It's almost inviting a nuclear holocaust that will affect the entire Western world and certainly will affect Israel, God forbid. And for 30 years, we've been urging Israel to strike and destroy, and we've been urging this, and you've seen this on video after video. Those of you who followed me on the program that I did on cable TV in New York City in the 1990s, and David was also with us on our cable TV program. Going back to the early 90s, I spoke about this issue and how essential it is. And Netanyahu, that coward, and all the other Israeli prime ministers, all cowards, did not do what has to be done. Because American presidents, who are also cowards, told them not to. And so, when it was easy to destroy Iran's nuclear bomb-making program, Netanyahu didn't do it. Now, the whole world expects Netanyahu to do this. The whole world expects Israel to destroy this nuclear bomb-making program. Donald Trump, who was president of the United States of America for 4 years, and who is running about even in the polls with Kamala Harris. So he has a serious chance of becoming president. We hope he does become president. We hope he wins. Every sane person should vote for him. Donald Trump said, when they asked him, do you think Israel should attack the nuclear program in Iran? Donald Trump, or do you think Israel shouldn't do that? Because the late Joe Biden said Israel shouldn't do it. So they asked Trump about it. The late Joe Biden said, no, Israel shouldn't do it. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "That is the craziest thing I have ever heard," unquote. In other words, not attacking Iran's nuclear bomb-making program is the craziest thing Donald Trump ever heard. That's what he said. Of course, the question should come up why he, as president, didn't have the United States do it, because the United States could do it more easily than Israel. The United States is this world superpower. Israel is a tiny little country. But anyway, Trump is now pressuring Netanyahu and telling him this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. In other words, you're crazy if you don't attack the nuclear bomb-making program. Trump is calling Netanyahu, Donald Trump is saying Netanyahu is crazy. And then he made another speech, or he answered some other questions. Actually, he answered some other questions, where he said the first thing Israel should attack in Iran is the nuclear program, that Israel should strike Iran, and the first thing they should go after is that nuclear program. By the way, they had an opportunity in April to do it because Iran fired missiles on Israel. The whole world would have understood if Israel did this. And if Israel really destroyed a major part of that nuclear program, I don't know if they could destroy the whole thing at this point, because Netanyahu let this thing fester and fester and fester, that wimp, that coward, that traitor, that filthy pig.
The nuclear program is probably all decentralized by now.
It is decentralized. That doesn't mean Israel can't do major damage to it. We've seen what Israel can do. I think the Arab terrorists that were all blown up with those beepers were decentralized, right? They were all over the place, and Israel taught them a little lesson. So, and by the way, Israel could have blown all of them to pieces. They didn't. They made it small explosives because it's not nice, and maybe innocent civilians will be killed. It's not nice. You know, always the wimpy way of doing things. Always wimpy, self-hating, ghetto-minded behavior. Always. If we were in charge, you can imagine what would happen. You can imagine what would happen to countries that committed terror against the Jewish people, countries like Lebanon. You can imagine what we would do. In any event, Trump now says Israel should attack the nuclear program, and it's the first thing they should go after, Trump says. So Trump is publicly pressuring and practically demanding that Netanyahu attack Iran's nuclear bomb-making program. And again, is saying the craziest thing he ever heard is that Israel wouldn't do that. That's Trump. Now, you would think with that, Netanyahu would say, well, listen, this is an American Gentile running for president. I'm the Jewish leader of the Jewish state. If he says that, I should be 1,000 times more in favor of that because I'm really in the bullseye of this nuclear program. I should be, if he's telling me that, then certainly I should be doing it. You would think. Jared Kushner, Trump's wimpy brother-in-law, another wimp. Even Jared Kushner wrote a post on Twitter urging Israel to vigorously attack Iran, to finish the job in Lebanon and Gaza, and urging Israel to destroy Iran's nuclear bomb-making program. Jared Kushner, it's Trump's son-in-law. Did I say brother-in-law?
Yeah, it's his son-in-law.
Okay, it's his son-in-law. Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who also, by the way, was in charge of Middle East policy when Trump was president, and who is, I don't know if he's going to be in charge or what his position is going to be again, but he's a major, major advisor to Trump. He's very close to his father-in-law and a major advisor to Trump. And he is saying Israel should do this already. Naftali Bennett, the left-wing wimpy prime minister of the left. He was prime minister of the left for 1 year, and his government was brought down. He brought Arab terrorists into the government from Ra'am, from a political party called Ra'am, which is part of the Muslim Brotherhood. He brought them into the government. That's how left-wing this schmuck is. Okay? And he says, he has written articles and has said Israel must go in and finally destroy this nuclear bomb-making program. Israel cannot wait any longer. Now, you would think with all this, the Netanyahu would certainly would have done it already by now. He should have done this 20 or 30 years ago. It would have been a lot easier. And we were the only ones who told you this for 20 or 30 years. We're the only ones. We and one political leader in Israel, Moshe Feiglin, from the Zehut Party, whom we're supporting, by the way. He also told the truth on this issue. I don't agree, by the way, with Feiglin on every issue. He's not a Kahanist. I'm a Kahanist. But on this issue, this is one of those issues, 90% of the issues I think he is good on and he's telling the truth on. And this is one of that 90%. He was very good on this issue. All along, he said Israel should go in and strike and destroy Iran's nuclear bomb-making program. Now, after everything you heard from me, where even American Gentile politicians and leaders, including a former president, including someone who was in charge of Middle East policy, are all telling Israel, go do this already. All the commentators on Fox and the military analysts are all saying to go do this. Senators and congressmen are saying Israel should do this already. You would think with all that pressure on him that Netanyahu would finally go and do it. And I hope that because of all that pressure that he does finally do it. By the way, polls show that Israelis overwhelmingly want him to go in and attack Iran's nuclear bomb-making program. Overwhelmingly. And so what does Netanyahu do? He's negotiating now with the late Joe Biden the possibility of a ceasefire where Israel doesn't retaliate against Iran. It's, you know, and then the media will tell us how he's a hardliner. Oh, he's really, he's an obstacle to peace. He's such a hardliner. He's such a right-winger. This is what the media will tell you. He's an obstacle to Israel surviving, this traitor. He's a horrific, evil, treasonous leader. And all the leaders of Israel are like this except for Moshe Feiglin. They're all like this. So you see, you can't believe what you see in the media. You can't. You saw the way the media conducted the debates, the presidential debate and the vice presidential debate. The bias, the hate, the hatred. I mean, all you have to do is see a broadcast, and you shouldn't, I don't recommend you do it because I certainly don't want to do it because I don't want to get aggravated. But if you see a broadcast of ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, of the news every night, the hatred, I mean hatred toward Donald Trump, hate, it's unbelievable. There's not one thing they don't find, that they haven't searched for to smear him on. And there are a lot of things you could criticize Donald Trump about, and we've criticized him a lot because he deserves criticism, okay? Because he did not do all the things he should have done as president. We should support him because he's much better than Kamala Harris, and if Kamala Harris wins, we're really screwed. So we got to support him. But we've criticized him, but the criticisms they have of him are not legitimate. They're insane. We have now, tonight, as we're doing this program, a huge, possibly historic hurricane that might strike Florida called Hurricane Milton. We had Hurricane Helene, and now we have Hurricane. By the way, it's interesting the names that they give these hurricanes. You know, it's always interesting. Why don't they have Hurricane Mohammed? You think we'll ever have a hurricane called Hurricane Mohammed or Hurricane Abdullah or Hurricane Fatima?
How about Hurricane Takesha?
Or Hurricane Takesha, or I don't know if you remember. Anyway, I don't want to start getting into that now. But I mean, why? You know. But anyway, there's a major hurricane. Just to show you what goes on in this country, how terrible things really are. There's a major hurricane, Milton. After Hurricane Helene did massive damage, billions and billions of dollars worth of damage, over 200 people were killed. And these were the people killed in the good areas of the United States, the rural South. Yes, that's where all the evangelical Christians are, most of whom support Israel. And so Biden and Harris, they take all the money that billions of dollars is put into the fund that's supposed to be helping these people. It's called FEMA. They're supposed to be helping these people. Instead, we find that FEMA doesn't have any money left. They gave so much money to help illegal aliens, there's no money left for American citizens. And this is true. This has really happened.
They've been saying that like what you just said and what others are saying is not true, and it's dangerous. They don't want this being said. They want to take your freedom of speech away. But it turns out that the people on the ground in North Carolina are saying that FEMA is nowhere to be found. All the supplies that come in are coming in from private contributions. FEMA is just non-existent. If this was a black area, I'm sure that FEMA would be seen all over.
If you believe what the Biden administration and Kamala Harris are telling you, okay, when they deny these facts, these are facts. When they deny these facts, these are the same people, Kamala Harris and the late Joe Biden and the left-wing media, who tell you that Israel is the bad guy here, that the Muslim world that says push the Jews into the sea, itbach al Yahud, slaughter the Jew. They're the good guys, the Muslim Nazi terrorists who want to push the Jews into the sea. They're the good guys. Israel, little Israel, trying to defend herself against genocide. She's the bad guy. Little Israel, they're the bad guys. Those are the same people who tell you that are the people lying to you about everything else. What we're telling you are facts, okay? They had programs, and Fox News, by the way, has documented it. And there is no question that they have programs to help illegal aliens. And the program, and FEMA works to help the illegal aliens adjust to their life. What is this helping to adjust? Adjust? We want them to adjust? The Democrats want them to adjust because the Democrats want them to become citizens so that they'll vote Democrat. You bet the Democrats want that. That's why they opened up why do you think they opened up the border? You don't think they know that's bad for the country? You don't think they know that brings crime and terrorism and drugs and fentanyl, and that 70 or 80,000 Americans are dying every year because of the open border? You don't think they know that? They know that. They don't give a damn. They want more Democrat voters. They want to destroy this country. They want to make sure that they're in charge forever. And so you better believe that these things are happening. You better believe, like the dogs and eating the dogs and the cats. Okay? I was in prison with Haitians. Okay? Haitians believe in voodoo. They use animals as part of their voodoo ritual. Now, if they want to use a late Joe Biden doll or a Kamala Harris doll, I have no objection to that. You know, if they want to do that, I have no objection to that. They can stick pins in if they stick pins in late Joe Biden, he won't even feel it at this point. Or pins in Kamala Harris, you know. But the fact is, these people the practices, and you know, what's the debate about with there's a town in Ohio, the debate was about a town in Ohio, where now about a quarter of the population are Haitians. This was an all-white American town, middle-class town in Ohio. Now a quarter of the population are Haitians on welfare. This is what and the crime rate went through the ceiling. And the media says, oh, how dare Donald Trump bring this up, and how dare J.D. Vance bring this up. And Tampon Tim Walsh, he says that Trump and J.D. Vance are weird. Tampon Tim is calling people weird. Can you imagine this? He calls people weird. He wants tampons in boys' bathrooms in Minnesota. He ordered this as governor, and he says J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are weird. He thinks boys that don't use tampons are weird. Did you ever see him, by the way? Did you ever see him at these rallies? My name is Tim Wills. He's a goofball. And
he's booed wherever he goes. But the residents and even police officers of Springfield, Ohio, said this is going on. These animals, people's pets, are disappearing, and it's ever since the Haitians arrived.
You know something? I think the one mistake that was made bringing this up, there's one mistake that might have been made bringing this up, or maybe it's because of the way I look at things. I mean, as much as I love dogs and cats, I love animals. But human beings are more important than animals. They're murdering and raping human beings. The murder rate is through the ceiling now. The crime rate, the rape and raping women. Women and girls are afraid to walk the streets. Okay? That's worse even than stealing people's pets, which by the way, they are doing also. That's worse. The media is lying to you. The media told you that Barack Hussein Obama is against Farrakhan. And they hid the picture that we've shown, that I think everybody's seen, we've shown it many times, of Obama smiling and shaking hands with Farrakhan and supporting Farrakhan, and that he went to Farrakhan's Million Man March, something that was never mentioned even once on any news broadcast throughout the 2008 election. Not once, or in the 2012 election. Only when Obama was reelected and didn't have to run again did the picture come out, because Obama wanted to show off. He was proud of his association with Brother Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan, Brother Farrakhan. The media is lying to you. When they say there's a Palestinian people, the media is lying to you. You know, even the P, even P, you know that the letter P doesn't exist in the Arabic language even? Palestinian people? What Palestine? I mean, the whole thing is so absurd. The term Palestina was the way the Romans referred to the Plishtim. The Plishtim were the Philistines, the ancient Philistines. There's no connection whatsoever to modern day Arab Muslims. The Arabs themselves always said there's no such thing as Palestine or a Palestinian people. And yet the media won't even let you hear this other side of the story. This other side of the story, you never hear. You're not allowed to hear it. And if someone tries to mention it, they're censored. And so we wanted to bring you this opening with Netanyahu to show you that what you're hearing about Netanyahu, that he's a right-winger, that he's a hardliner, this is just an example. Everything they tell you is a lie. They do not tell you the truth. They are brainwashing you. They are propagandists. The left are liars. If you follow them, you will follow them into the pit hole of hell. That's where they will lead you, to hell.
Well, they tell you the Republicans in this country are extreme right-wingers and radicals. The Republicans are like the Likud party over in Israel. Nothing.
It's a very good example, the Republicans. They told you that Richard Nixon, remember how they hated Nixon? He's so extreme. He's such an extremist. He's the one who did the Philadelphia plan massive affirmative action on steroids, discriminating against white people. He started that with the Philadelphia plan. Lyndon Johnson started an executive order, but that was nothing compared to what Nixon expanded it way beyond that. Nixon did wage and price controls, which is what Kamala Harris wants to do now, which is socialism. Nixon is the one that went to communist China and the Soviet Union and started détente with the Soviets and the communists in China and kept their economies afloat when they were about to collapse because their system doesn't work. He kept them afloat with the détente and trade that he initiated with them. Nixon did all of this. Nixon is the one who was elected president. When he was elected, at the end of 1968, there were negotiations between the North Vietnamese and the United States in the Vietnam War. And there was a proposal on the table for the United States to withdraw gradually and to withdraw and stop all bombing and so on. There was they could have had a negotiated settlement at the end of 1968. Nixon refused to accept that settlement and kept American troops in Vietnam. 28,000 American soldiers were killed. And in the end, Nixon in 1973, early 73, January 73, accepted the same exact deal that could have been accepted when he first became president in 1969 with 28,000 Americans being murdered for no reason. That's Nixon. Okay? And by the way, the war in Vietnam could have been won easily. Easily. The United States just had to invade North Vietnam. Very simple. Cut off everything, invade, and that's it. And the North Vietnamese could not withstand that. But Johnson didn't want to do that. Nixon didn't want. Nobody wanted to do that. And so the United States lost in Vietnam. And what a price America paid. Vietnam was devastating to America. And Nixon was guilty. And then you had Gerald Ford, the other extreme right-wing Republican. Him and Henry Kissinger were giving away the whole country to all of America's enemies. The worst. I mean, the worst. And then we had the Bushes. We had Bush the father, and Bush the son, and Bush the unholy spirit, which was Jeb Bush. Or as Yosef Ben Meir, our great late host, Zichrono Livracha, Alav HaShalom, may his memory be immortalized, and may he rest in peace. The wonderful Yosef Ben Meir, when he used to say Bush the first, Bush the second, Bush the third, and he used to say, Bush the third, I hope he's the last. I mean, Yosef Ben Meir was great. The Bushes.
Read my lips, no new taxes. And the first thing he does is raise taxes.
He didn't only raise taxes, his tax increase was the greatest in American history. Immediately, several months after he had promised, read my lips, no new taxes, and swore that he wasn't going to raise taxes. And his policies were, he increased spending faster, at a much faster clip than the Democrats. He proposed increases in spending more extreme than what the left-wing Democrats in Congress were proposing. I mean, the worst, and very anti-Israel, very anti-Semitic. Terrible, pressuring Israel all the time, and terrible president for Israel as well, which hurts America as well. Bush, that was Bush the father, and then Bush the son. Just pathetic. When Bush the son left office, look where we were. We nearly had a Great Depression. The whole economy was collapsing. Massive debt. Just a disaster. And then Jeb Bush comes along, the third Bush. And his famous statement was, there is nothing more American. It's as American as apple pie when illegal aliens cross the border into the United States. That's as American as apple pie. That's what that schmuck said. That illegal aliens coming into America is as American as apple pie. And by the way, the head of Newsmax, the owner and head of Newsmax, wrote an editorial endorsing Jeb Bush for the Republican nomination for president that year, in 2016, against Trump, by the way. The head of Newsmax endorsed Jeb Bush in the race against Trump and said that the reason he did this because it was so courageous of him to say that illegal aliens come flooding into the country is as American as apple pie. That was so courageous that he had to endorse him for president. That's Newsmax. That's the extreme right site. You're being taken for a ride. People are not leveling with you. They're playing games with you. And you don't see it. You don't see it and you don't want to see it. If people don't wake up fast, there's going to be some very, very tragic consequences. People have got to wake up fast. Now, let me just end off with the positive note before we go to David. Let me just end off with the optimistic note that we have to give, because I don't want people leaving the program depressed. You shouldn't be depressed. You should be concerned, and you should be determined to do things, and be determined to be active, and determined to contribute to the Hilltop Youth, for instance. But you should know that the prophets in the Bible make it clear that the end of days are going to be like this. No one is going to tell the truth. There's going to be complete darkness. Things are going to be terrible, are going to seem terrible. And then all of a sudden, things are going to happen. And the Jews, of all people, the Jews are going to wake up. When the Jewish people wake up, they will become a light unto the nations and a holy nation, nation of priests, and set an example for the whole world. And that will turn the tide. Then there'll be final redemption for the righteous and destruction for the wicked. That's what's going to happen. That's what the prophets in the Bible say will happen, and that is what will happen. So good times will come in the end. In the end, the good guys are going to win. We just want to make sure that there's not unnecessary suffering until that happens, because right now, you're being lied to. Now, you can make a difference right now. You should be on the side of good, and you should be doing good. And you can. You can do really good thing. You can do something really good right now and help the heroic Hilltop Youth in Judea and Samaria against traitors like Netanyahu, who destroy, by the way, he destroys the Hilltop Youth communities and doesn't touch illegal Arab building all over Judea and Samaria. The Arabs built over 80,000 illegal buildings and homes all over just Section C of Judea and Samaria, and that Netanyahu doesn't touch. But if a Jew builds one little shack in Judea and Samaria to prevent the Arabs from taking over everything, the Israeli army comes in right away, and the police, and Netanyahu orders them to come in and destroy everything. That's Netanyahu. Okay? You have to, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If you don't do something about this, then you're part of the problem. If you're going to be apathetic, or if you're going to be cheap, or if you're going to be unconcerned, and you're going to be selfish, believe me, that's not going to go over well for you. That's not good for you. The right thing to do is to get involved and help those good people. You know that they're right, and you know that they're good people, and you know they're idealists, and you know the cause is just. So there's no excuse. Help them. If you want to help the Heroic Hilltop Youth online, you go to our Hebrew main page, hayamin.org, hayamin.org. You click on the donate button in English. There's a donate button in English on top. You click on the donate button, and in several minutes, you can easily and conveniently donate to the Hilltop Youth. Give until it hurts. Give. This is a good cause. If you don't want to do it online, and this is for Jews and righteous Gentiles. This is not just the Jewish issue. The cause of Israel is an issue for every human being. It's God's cause. If you want to do it online, that's how you help, by going to hayamin.org and clicking on the donate button. If you'd rather do it through the regular mail, you just make check or money order out to J.T.F. and you send it to our post office box, J.T.F. P.O. Box 650327, Fresh Meadows, New York 11365. David?
We were talking about Iran a little earlier in the program, and as I've stated many times in our programs, that I'm a table tennis player. I play very well, not on a world level, and at my age, 76, actually, your skills are starting to go down in your late 20s.
You're 76? You're 76?
Yeah, just like the number of trombones in the big parade.
Okay, and he's 76, and you wouldn't believe what a weightlifter he is, and he plays tennis very skillfully.
Table tennis, not tennis.
Table tennis. I mean, this is pretty impressive, I think. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, so anytime there's a world championship or a major tournament in the world, I watch it on YouTube. And about 6 months ago, I was shocked. It was the first time I saw players from Iran. And I thought they were going to get their noses pushed into the table. I thought they wouldn't be able to beat anybody. It turns out, I don't know where they've been hiding all these years, and they have their hair is all over their face. So they're Muslims. These are not rare Christians in Iran. They're playing at the upper levels. So far, because they're not ranked very high, they have to face very tough opponents in the early rounds. But they hang with the tough opponents, including the Chinese, who are the best in the world. In the 90s and the late 80s, there was a brief period where Swedish men were the dominant force. But other than that, it's China. And if someone wins the world championship who's not Chinese, it's such a rarity. In the early 2000s, an Austrian won, but since then it's been China. And I watched a match yesterday, the top Iranian against the number one player in the world. And they play 3 out of 5. And he drove the number one player in the world to the 5th game. And it was in the 5th game, the number one player pulled away. But every game was close. Each game could have gone either way, the first 4 games. And this is an Iranian. So I thought they're busy making bombs. Where do they get this table tennis skill? And there's other players on the Iranian team too, who are very good. They're not at the Chinese level, but they could sneak a win against the Japanese or sneak a win against the Germans, who are very tough, or the Swedes, who are very tough. The Swedes are not what they were in the 90s when they had a player named Waldner and another player named Pearson. These 2 guys won 3 world championships, and the world championships are every other year. That was Sweden's a small country with a small population. So once these guys grew a little older and were no longer really competitive at the top level, there was nobody to take their spot. Today, there's players from Sweden that are very good, but not at that level. Waldner was considered until the current, who's still playing at age 35, Ma Long. Until Ma Long came along, Waldner was considered the greatest player that ever lived. I would love to see Waldner in his prime against Ma Long in his prime. That would have been something. But I'm shocked that these Iranians are playing at this level. They're playing like second-tier Chinese. And that could beat any European or any Japanese at any time. So when you watch an Iranian player, I always root against them, of course, and I usually don't root. I just like to watch the matches. But I like to see them get killed, and they stand up there, and it looks like they have a chance to win against no matter who they're playing.
Because it's an important part of their propaganda for them to show that they can do that. That's important. The same thing. That's why communist China produces so many athletes that are so competitive.
Well, that's what Hitler did with the Nazis.
The Soviet Union also used to do that. I mean, that's because this is part of their propaganda. They want to show the world that they're a successful society, which Iran is not. But they want to show the world that the only thing Iran succeeds at is exporting terrorism. But they want to show the world they're a successful society. This is important to Iran, so they invest in it, and they make sure. They try to make this a big priority. The Saudis are buying up. You know that the Saudis are buying up golf courses and golf companies and golf competitions and tournaments, and because again, this is all. It's not because they want to enlighten the infidels. It's because for propaganda purposes.
Well, when you watch a tournament in the Middle East in one of those oil states, when it comes down to the finals, you can see the normal people sitting in the stands, and you can tell who's head of the country because they're sitting in these chairs that look like thrones, watching the table tennis matches, and they offer the biggest cash prizes of any nation. And cash is not big in table tennis like it is in tennis, but they offer the biggest prizes. So every player who's anybody wants to play in those Middle Eastern tournaments. But I was just shocked to see them sitting in thrones, and not really thrones, but really fancy chairs that could pass for a throne. Getting to Kamala Harris. If you remember when I was a young man and Herbert Hoover was president, he said a car in every garage and a chicken in every pot. Now with Harris and Waltz, it's a cat in every pot. And we always talk about the traitors in the Republican Party, how they side with Democrats over and over again. And those that don't side with Democrats just sit by and watch what the Democrats do. They don't really stop them because there's no fight in the Republican Party. Really two different sides of the same coin. But Liz Cheney is coming out against not just Bush, and there's obvious reasons why she'd be against Bush there, to the point of fanaticism, but she's also against Ted Cruz in his Senate race. I don't know if you knew that. She came out against Ted Cruz.
I do know. By the way, you know that her sister for many years is an open lesbian. You know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I knew Dick Cheney had a lesbian daughter.
Dick Cheney's daughter is an open lesbian, and they've been promoting the gay and transgender agenda for a long time. This is the Republican establishment. Then the establishment are not really different from the Democrats. The establishment is the establishment. There's no real difference. Trump is different from Kamala Harris for a number of reasons. He's preferable, very much preferable to Kamala Harris. But leaders like the Bushes, or McCain, these were horrible people.
Romney,
Cheney is, these are hard. Look at them. Look how, finally her sister's promoting the transgenders, and now she came out of the closet to support Kamala Harris. I mean, anyway, whatever. I hope someday that people wake up, and I hope that they get rid of these horrible Republicans that are just, But right now, we have a different priority right now. We can't worry about that now. Okay, in a few weeks' time, we have a very important presidential election. We've got to, you should try to vote early. Here in New York, early voting is October 26th. You should try to vote early just in case something happens on election day. You never know with life what might happen. You don't want to leave it till the last minute because something could happen and interfere with your voting. Vote early. And if you don't want to, you don't trust voting by mail, so go in person and vote. Here in New York, there are places that they're going to set up in late October where you can vote in person. Go vote early. You'll beat the lines, and yes, they will count your vote. But get out and vote, and make sure that everybody you know gets out and votes for Donald Trump. Everybody you know, and votes Republican for Senate and the House.
Right, as bad as the Republicans are, and a lot of them will oppose whatever Trump wants to do, it's better than having a Democrat majority in either house. We want to take both houses so Trump has some kind of chance. I mean, it's better if you rule by congressional law that the president signs than executive order, which could be reversed by the very next president. And if the next president after Trump just happens to be a Democrat, you know they're going to reverse everything Trump did. Just as he will be reversing everything Biden did. I hope he reverses everything.
And there's another issue. If the nightmare scenario happens, if Kamala Harris wins, God forbid, we'd rather have a Republican Senate facing her or a Republican House facing her than have the Democrats in control of everything, God forbid. I mean, of course, the ultimate nightmare is that she wins. But if she wins, God forbid, we want as many Republicans as possible there to resist and fight her. I would hope that they will, knowing Republican, but still, at least we'd hope that they would.
Many states are issuing driver's license to illegals in time so that they could vote. You have a driver's license, in a lot of states, you'll be able to vote. There should be a voter registration book so that when you show an ID, it matches the name and the signatures in the voter registration book, but it's not like that anymore. We used to have safe, secure elections when I was a little boy, but today it's like the song says by Cole Porter, anything goes. In Asheville, North Carolina, where they got the worst of the hurricane, the worst of the flooding. It was a blue city in what used to be a red state. Now it's a purple state. But it was a blue city that elected Democrats for the past 40 years. And they got it good this time. There's no city left. But back in July, Antifa has a major presence there. And back in July, at an anti-Israel rally, they beat up 2 Jews and an old man they probably thought was Jewish, but he wasn't. They beat up an old man. These tough guys took it out on an old man. They took it out on Jews, who most Jews don't fight back. Jews are taught not to fight back. We're trying to teach Jews you have to carry because you have a target on your back. You might as well be walking around wearing the yellow star like in Nazi Germany. Learn to fight back.
That's one thing that the left-wing American Jews don't like about Israel. They don't like it, but Israeli Jews do fight back. And we saw that. We see the way they're fighting back. And American Jews, the left-wing American Jews, the Obama Jews, and the Kamala Harris Jews don't like that. But anyway, hopefully Jews will toughen up now because of the anti-Semitism, hopefully. When Jews do decide to fight back, they're very good because they have brains. They're very good fighters. So, I mean, that's what you see with Israel. I mean, would you want to go against an enemy who could blow people up in hundreds of different locations at once by pressing a button? Would you want to go against an enemy like that?
In New York City, Chaim's mayor, Eric Adams, is being indicted because he's complaining about the illegal aliens. He went off.
I just want to make clear, he's not being indicted. He has been indicted.
Yeah, okay.
He's being indicted. I know you meant that, but people who may not know the story might think that means, he's about to be indicted. No, he's already been indicted. Okay.
Because he went off script. He complained about the illegal aliens all over New York City, and Democrats don't want to hear that. So they're teaching him a lesson because he's no more corrupt than any other Democrat and almost every other Republican. They're all corrupt. It's just a matter of who gets caught and who leaves the reservation. Because once you leave the reservation, you're in a lot of trouble. They're going to come after you with everything they have.
Yeah, but he is a bona fide crook, and all of the leaders in New York all the politicians in New York are crooks, all of them. I mean, he is a real crook, taking money from the Muslim Nazis in Turkey, just a complete crook, and his whole administration were just literally taking piles of cash. I mean, just the crudest type of bribery. And he's a black mayor. We should say that many black politicians feel they can get away with it, because if anybody tries to interfere with corruption, they just cry racism. They just say it's racist, which he's doing also, by the way. He's claiming this is racism. It's not racism. He's a crook. And I agree with you.
So they're after him.
I would agree with you. The other politicians in New York are also crooks. We have a horrible, evil governor and the senators and that schmuck Schumer and all the others. What a schmuck. I mean, and all the other politicians in New York, I mean, they're all crooks. There's no question. They're corrupt.
Every time Schumer speaks, it sounds like he's whining and about to cry.
He's another one, by the way. He's another one who said that Netanyahu, he's a terrible leader. He should resign. He's not pushing hard enough for the peace process. This is how Schumer speaks, by the way. And some of the Jews are so proud. Oh, we're so proud to have Senator Schmuck Schumer. He represents us. So wonderful that we have such a schmuck representing us. This is just wonderful. I mean, it's beyond, and they give so much money to these politicians. Whoever says Jews are cheap, that's not true. Jews donate far more than any other group. The problem is they donate in most cases to the wrong causes, but they donate very generously. And the huge amounts of money that Jews contribute in political campaigns, and all to these evil politicians, most of whom are anti-Semites. And the Jews give them, instead of helping the Hilltop Youth, they help people like Schmuck Schumer. Some of them are giving to Adams now, to Eric Adams. By the way, one of the mayor of New York that you were referring to, one of the reasons they're giving to him is because they claim he's pro-Israel. He claims to be pro-Israel because he knows the dumb Jews will fall for that. When he ran for political office before running for mayor, you know what he ran on? He ran in a black neighborhood, in a black district, as an open supporter of Louis Farrakhan, as Farrakhan's candidate. An open supporter of Farrakhan. That's the mayor of New York, Eric Adams. Okay? So he's full of crap on everything he says. Okay? And he is a crook. And he should go to jail and rot in jail forever. And the Jews, the stupid, insane Jews, give him money. Instead of giving money to the Hilltop Youth, they give him money. A Farrakhan supporter. Anyway, go ahead.
As far as corruption in New York, when cable TV was something new, there was no Dish or Direct TV. There was cable TV or you had a roof antenna. New York City didn't have cable TV. Everybody got cable TV. No matter where you looked at it, was growing in leaps and bounds. New York City didn't get it till around 1986, maybe 88, because they wanted enough money under the table to make it worth their while. They kept saying, we're waiting because we want the best system. What good is the best system while everybody else has it and we have nothing?
Manhattan did have it, okay, because we were on cable since the 70s in Manhattan. Manhattan had it.
But the outer boroughs didn't.
You know why Manhattan had it? Because the actors and the actresses on Broadway wanted to be able to have cable TV shows so they can audition. That's why they had it. For the actors and the actresses in Broadway, who are also scum. Scum. Hollywood, scum. Broadway, scum. Actors and actresses, scum. And that's their good quality.
Then, at the height of the recession, I sold my house in Queens and we moved out to Arizona. And a year later, nothing was done. They took boards and fenced off the whole area, and that was it. The new owners Asians were going to knock the house down and put up a 3-family McMansion. And Ashadina asked me, look at this, it's a year. They didn't even start doing anything. I said, because he's an Asian, and he speaks with an accent, so he wasn't born here. He didn't know he had to pay off the right people to get the permits to begin construction, or actually destruction on the old house, and then construction on a new house. I guess he eventually found out you had to pay off the right people to get all the permits you needed.
They're jealous of the Chinese people. Okay, because the Chinese, blacks live here 400 years. And there's still a lot of problems. The Chinese people come here, and the claim for blacks, the claim was that, because of racism. And of course, sometimes there's racism against all races.
Yeah, the Chinese faced extreme racism in the 40s.
But the Chinese are proof of the fact that you can make it despite that. You don't have to be white, because they always say, well, it's because of white supremacy and white privilege. Then how is it that the Chinese succeed? How are they able to succeed? And believe me, a lot of white people don't like Chinese too. There's a lot of racism and prejudice against Chinese, a lot. And a lot of jealousy against them because their kids get higher grades than white students on average and succeed. They come here with a language that's completely different from English, with an alphabet that's, completely different from English. They don't speak a single word of English when they come here. Do you know how many people speak English in communist China? 99% of the population does not speak any English. 99%. One of the because of the way the communists, they don't want people learning English because they don't want people seeing, on the internet and English sites. So 99% of the Chinese people in communist China do not speak English. They come to the United States and they come here not knowing a single word of English, to a strange place that's completely different from their homeland, and resettling and all the other. You can imagine how difficult that is. And in one generation, without even speaking English, they have stores, they have businesses, their kids are in universities. They don't go around raping and murdering and attacking people and burglarizing and attacking people in the middle of the street. They're not going around on welfare. They don't do those. They go out, they work very, very hard, and they're succeeding. So it can be done, if people really want to make the effort, it can be done. And by the way, there are black conservatives that say what I'm saying, that understand what I'm saying, and that say what I'm saying, that this is a serious issue. And you see in the Latino community a lot of people waking up. You see now there's some polls that show that Trump might actually carry the Latino vote. He might carry. By the way, Trump might win a majority of the Jewish vote in this election. So some polls show that he might. So all types of things are happening. That some groups, some of the minority groups that were being brainwashed to be victims all the time, are waking up.
Well, this woman I knew very well from Texaco, she sent me an email. She saw a poll where 65% of Jews are still going to vote for Kamala. And
yeah, but there's this New York Times Siena poll shows 50% of Jews are voting for Trump. Who knows what it's going to be?
Yeah, we won't know till after.
The bottom line is
snapshot in time.
The fact that there are a lot of Jews who are nuts, American Jews, a lot of them are nuts. That there's no question about. By the way, look at the difference between them and Israeli Jews. I'll never forget Barack Hussein Obama's approval rate in Israel was 3%. They asked, do you approve or disapprove of the job Barack Obama is doing as president? 97% disapproved, 3% approved. That was his approach among Jews in Israel. Of course, among Arabs, it was reverse. It was the opposite. They loved Obama. But, this is, so Israeli Jews, that's where the good Jews live, in Israel. The good Jews live in Israel, which is where Jews are supposed to live. They're not supposed to live here. But here you have the crappy Jews, and the crappy Jews are left-wing Jews, are self-hating Jews. But even among the crappy Jews, there's so much anti-Semitism in the Democrat Party that Trump is going to get. He's definitely going to get a much higher percentage of the Jewish vote than usual. That's for sure. That's certainly what happened. And by the way, the Latinos and Asians that I know in my neighborhood are voting for Trump. The ones I know are voting for Trump. I don't know if that, I know that's not scientific and it's just, anecdotal, and you can't be sure about anything I know a lot of Chinese people. Okay. Because I do, I'm involved with a lot of Chinese people in my neighborhood. And all of them are supporting Trump. Every single last one of them that I know is supporting Trump. About I know Chinese people that registered to vote for the first time just so that they can vote for Trump, because they say the economy was much better when he was president and there was less crime.
And Chinese are business people.
Yeah, and not only that, they don't want to be attacked. They're also being attacked. They're also victimized by crime and by all these other things. They don't want this anymore. They had enough of it.
We had at our gym here, we had a Korean young man. He's got a pilot's license, but he wants to be a commercial airline pilot. So he went to the college here, Embry-Riddle, which is an aeronautical university. And he was behind the desk at the gym, making a little money while he was at school. And I gave him a puzzle to solve that nobody else behind the desk could solve. And I said, I know you can't do it here. Take it home and bring me the answer. Came in the next day with the answer to the puzzle. Korean guy, working and going to school. And I said, I'm glad you figured out the puzzle. I'd hate to think there's a dumb guy flying up in an airplane over my head. But he got the puzzle. He understood the whole thing, why the puzzle worked a certain way. And the other people behind the desk didn't have a clue. If you're on Medicare, your Medicare benefits are going to be slightly lower because they're changing the program a little. And you know where the money's going. If it didn't go to Ukraine, it went to illegal aliens. So with Biden and Harris, it's American last. And I don't understand people voting for them. Unless you're on the dole and you're getting a lot of money, or if you're a crook and they're aiding you. But if you're a normal, everyday American, even if you weren't born in this country, if you speak with an accent, you got to be crazy. These people are America last. Everybody else is first ahead of us. And I've got two more points. Here, there's a proposition in my town to raise the sales tax almost 1%, 0.95, and it'll drop down to 0.75 in 2035. Americans are so stupid, they fall for this every time. It's always, if we don't increase taxes, we're going to have to let go police, we're going to have to let go fire, we're going to have to let go teachers.
How about let go politicians?
Yeah, it's never let go politicians. It's never we're going to have to cut welfare. It's never we're going to have to stop benefits to illegal aliens. It's they get you where they know you're the most stupid. You'll fall for it every time. And this time it's keep our town safe. Vote yes on this proposition. This is a town that's, it's 85% white people that are 60 and older, and the rest are white people that are a little younger. They're in their 40s and 50s. I have never, 15 years, I have never had my bell ring on Halloween for trick or treat because there's no kids here. This is a retirement town. There's no crime. A big crime wave would be 2 DUIs in the same night.
And also, a lot of people in the town are armed.
A lot of people. It's a rare occurrence if you find one gun in a house. You know, we're from New York where we didn't have any. Now I have 5. Plus, I have a Crocodile Dundee knife, too.
Yeah. You're making all of us New Yorkers jealous.
So I'm sure this proposition is going to pass because they know the masses are stupid. Keep our town safe. What are they talking about? There's no crime here. I don't even lock my car when I go into a store. Plus, I even roll down the windows about a third of the way because the heat buildup is tremendous. And we just had, at this time of year, 2 days short of 3 weeks of 90 to 95. This past Saturday down in Phoenix, they smashed the old record. The old record at this time of year was 105. They hit 112 in Phoenix in October. And we were 95 that day. It's finally cooling off a little. Let me see. It is 85 here today. So you can always count on stupid Americans. It's not just Americans are stupid. They don't pay attention. They don't care. They go with whatever soundbite they hear and they run with it. But they're also, for the most part, fat, lazy, self-indulgent, and those are their good points. When I lived in Queens, a half a block up and 2 short blocks down, and I mean, they were literally short blocks, there was a mini supermarket. It was mostly Italian, and when you walked in, the smell of the cheese could knock you down. But if you needed something quick, you could get it there without going to the major supermarkets. And people would park. They double park in the street. This was not a major thoroughfare, but it was the big street going north to south in this area. And people would double park because they didn't want to park around the corner and walk. And they would take a shopping cart and they wouldn't bring it back. They'd leave it where they left their car. There'd be shopping carts all over the body. You still see that in supermarkets and Walmarts where they give you places to drop the shopping cart off in the parking lot. And people still, if there's an empty spot next to their car, they'll put the shopping cart there. They won't walk 75 feet to put it in the receptacle that takes the shopping carts. And that's why one of the reasons I'm so down on Americans. How did we go from the country that won a war on 2 fronts with minimal manpower? We went with machines. We didn't have the army that the Soviets did. We didn't have the men in arms that the Soviets did because they went with manpower, and that's why they lost so many men. We tried to save lives by using machines. And when you look at those boys coming home and you see everybody all dressed up to greet them and signs, well done, welcome home, welcome back victors. Remember when the boys came home from Vietnam, they were spat upon. How this country has changed and we let it. We fell asleep. We're just enamored with sports, and they give you sports every day of the year. Before the baseball season is over, football starts. Before the football season is over, hockey and basketball start. And before their season is over, baseball starts again. So it's like Rome. Give them the games in the arena so they don't notice the crooks that are running their country. And that's what's going on here. And people are just asleep at the switch. If we were paying attention, this country would not be in the shape it's in today. The last thing I want to bring up is Kamala Harris is running on the rich have to pay their fair share. Nobody ever says what the rich are. To the average middle-class worker, the rich might be a doctor or a dentist. I'll take a dentist as an example. He goes to school for how many years? He has to probably do a residency. I don't know if like a doctor pays malpractice, but there's probably some insurance. He has to buy an office. He has to buy all the dental equipment. He has to hire maybe 2 for the front desk, and 2 to assist him, and a hygienist. And then he opens his office, some at 7:30, some at 8. He gets up 5 days a week if he's just beginning the practice. Early, he's there till 5, 6 o'clock a few days a week. And let's say he makes $350,000 to $500,000 a year. Well, this guy worked this hard with his hands everybody's mouth all day long. Well, what is your fair share for staying home and doing nothing? What is your fair share of his income for staying home and doing nothing? He worked hard. You stayed home and did absolutely nothing. What is your fair share of what he earned? Let's see Kamala Harris answer that one.
I wonder how much Kamala Harris is going to be taxed. But anyway, they're such hypocrites and phonies. They're such that low-life hooker. She slept with everybody in San Francisco to get ahead politically. I mean, she slept with Willie Brown, the mayor of San Francisco. She slept with everybody. She's a hooker. She is a hooker. She has less integrity than the hookers in Times Square in the 70s and 80s who would sell their bodies for $5 for crack. Okay? She has less integrity than they do. And everything she proposes is only to get ahead politically. She's a complete political prostitute. But anyway, I think people know our position on all of that.
Yeah, have we made it clear?
I hope so. I hope we made it clear. Let's get involved, help the Hilltop youth, and let's do something to make this a better world. On this program, we're trying to get people to get involved, to make this a better world. Isn't that worthwhile? You know, when you look back at your life at the end, are you going to say, whoa, what a waste? What a waste. You will say that if you don't accomplish anything for the good of the world. If you accomplish things for the good of the world, you'll have no reason to say that. For J.T.F., until next week, this is Chaim ben Pesach and for David ben Moshe. Shalom.